This summary is not another feel-good self-help book promising effortless happiness. It's a raw, irrelevant, and brutally honest manifesto that flips the script on conventional wisdom about success, happiness, and personal growth. Mark, a former dating coach turned philosopher blogger, argues that life is fundamentally about problems, and the key to a good life isn't about avoiding them, but choosing better problems. The subtle art can be summed up as learning to give fewer, more meaningful because you only have a finite supply of to give. Let's look at Charles Bukowski, a lifelong alcoholic, gambler, and failure by societal standards. For decades, he wrote poetry in obscurity, rejected by publishers, drowning in debt and despair. Yet he kept writing not for fame, but because he enjoyed it. And sure enough, he turned into a major success, yet his tombstone reads, "Don't try." The paradox here is that Bukowski succeeded because he didn't try to be successful. He gave zero F's about approval, status, or legacy. He embraced his pain, his flaws, and his own mediocrity, and in doing so became authentic. This authenticity is what led to his success. This sets the tone for stop chasing positivity, which is in sharp contrast to the happiness advantage. Maybe compare the two videos and make your own decision. I'll leave a link for that one here and in the description down below. The author's take is today we are obsessed with always wanting to be happy, rich, and special. This is where widespread anxiety and dissatisfaction come from, he reasons. Self-help culture sells the lie that you can and should feel good all the time. But life isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about feeling what's real. Pain, failure, and uncertainty are inevitable. They're an important aspect of life. The goal isn't to eliminate them, but to choose which ones are worth suffering for. The feedback loop from hell, something we've all experienced. It works like this. You care so much about something trivial, say a stranger's opinion, that caring causes anxiety. The anxiety makes you care even more. Why am I so upset about their opinion? And then why am I so upset that I'm upset about their opinion? Why am I such a failure? See, the feedback loop from hell, the cycle starts with something minor, then intensifies, spiraling into strongly felt emotions like frustration or misery. The solution to stop the loop is profoundly simple. Accept that some things don't matter and understand that not everything deserves your emotional energy. To be clear here, Manson isn't advocating for nihilism, he's advocating for discernment. You have a limited amount of F's to give, so spend them wisely on things that do matter. You are not special. One of the most provocative claims in this book is that you are not special, and neither is anyone else. This special mentality comes from being raised in a culture of entitlement, where everyone gets a trophy, everyone's opinion is valid, every dream is achievable if you just believe. Despite the good intentions these are trying to have, there are a lot of negatives to this mentality, and this forms two toxic mindsets that we have prominent today. See if you've heard of any of these. Exceptionalism is number one. The I'm destined for greatness, so I shouldn't have to struggle. And number two is victimhood. The world owes me success, so my failures are someone else's fault. They are not mine. Both are delusions. The truth is, you're average. And that fact is liberating because when you accept your ordinariness, you stop comparing yourself to the billionaires, the top influencers, or child prodigies. You stop waiting for some sign or amazing moment to start. You just begin. You fail, you improve, you grow. Growth requires embracing being bad at something, and that's okay. That's how you get better. This is why being able to accept coaching and some good feedback designed to help you is actually a great thing, because it will actually help you, not fluff your feathers. An example of this is a struggling musician who believes he's meant for more, but he refuses to play small gigs or practice the fundamentals or take feedback because he's better than that. He stays stuck because of this belief. Meanwhile, the musician who plays at dive bars and learns from feedback progresses. The difference? One gives an about his ego, the other gives an about his craft. Happiness and problems. Happiness is a byproduct of meaning, and problems are a part of life. Life is a never-ending stream of problems. You solve one, get a job, another appears. You have a bad boss. You solve that one by quitting, another emerges, and now you're unemployed, right? You get the idea. The idea that one day you'll have no problems is a delusion. Even billionaires have problems, and they have big problems like taxes, lawsuits, betrayal, etc. We will always face problems. Nobody is exempt from this. So the question isn't how do I stop having problems? It's what problems do I want to have and deal with? Naturally, some problems are better than others. Addictions, toxic relationships, and chasing validation are some pretty bad problems. Whereas on the other hand, building a business, raising kids, mastering a skill are pretty good problems. Good problems are painful, yet meaningful. They align with your values and they help you grow. Let's take a look at two different examples of Steve and Sally. Steve works a soul-crushing corporate job for money and status, and his job doesn't give him much meaning, so he hates what he does. Sally runs a small bakery, works 60 hours a week, barely breaks even, but she loves what she does. Sally's problems are painful, but meaningful to her. Steve's problems are painful, but meaningless to him. The takeaway here is pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Choose meaning and struggles that matter to you. And for more on this, check out another one of my summaries, A Man's Search for Meaning. And hit the bell if you like this type of content, and if you like the video, like the video. Choices and responsibilities. You are 100% responsible for your life, not for what happens to you, but for how you interpret and respond to it. And I know, we've all heard this one before, nothing new, right? But understanding this to be true and living it are so empowering. This is what separates a victim and a free agent. Let's take a look at an example. Two people get fired from their job. Person A realizes, wow, my boss is an idiot. The system is made for me to fail. Why can't they see how great I am? I can't catch a break. This all feels hopeless. And this goes into a process of blame, stagnation, and depression. Person B realizes I didn't perform well enough. This is my own fault. It's up to me if I want to succeed. What can I learn from this? And it goes like this: accountability, understanding, and growth. Same event, different choice, different life. How would you respond? Values are at the root of all of our choices. Your individual values determine what problems you have, how you will solve them, and ultimately who you'll become. Note some differences between some of the values you may have. Some examples of values are honesty, integrity, fame, virtue, perfectionism, humility, pleasure, kindness, and greed. There are some stark differences between good and bad values. Good values stem from being reality-based, grounded in truth, socially constructive by helping others, immediate and controllable, or you can act on them now. Whereas bad values are not in your full control, are more self-serving and typically fantasy-based. Oh, fun fact on this next part, did you know you're wrong about everything? Hard to hear, I know. Most people like being right. I certainly do. But certainty is the enemy of growth, and the more you cling to being right, the less you actually learn. Manson argues that intellectual humility, the willingness to be wrong, is the foundation of wisdom. If you look at a person who always has to be right, they literally build walls around themselves because they cannot accept that they can be wrong. Consider the story of William James, a philosopher who suffered a mental breakdown in his 20s, suffering from depression, and contemplating crossing over to the other side. James decided to try something. For 1 year, he would take full responsibility for everything in his life, regardless of the fault. The result? He emerged stronger, more resilient, and eventually became a pioneer in psychology. This can apply to relationships, careers, and beliefs. And in arguments, the goal isn't to win, it's to understand. In failure, the goal isn't to save face, it's to extract lessons. In identity, the goal isn't to be someone, it's to keep evolving, to keep becoming. Failure is the way forward. Success is not the absence of failure, it's the refusal to stay failed. A great example is Japanese pottery. When you started as a beginner potter, you were told to make 100 pots. The goal here isn't perfection though, it's volume. Through repetition and failure, the beginner potters learn and become a little bit better. The same applies to life. If you want to write a book, write 100 imperfect pages. If you want a job, apply to 50 different places. If you want love, go on 25 different dates. Failure is just data. Giving up is staying failed. And Thomas Edison, the man who invented light bulbs, through his failure said, "I have not failed. I have just discovered 10,000 ways that did not work." The importance of saying no. Remember that boundaries are not selfish, they're actually essential. If you say yes to everything, well, we're back to giving too many F's. And remember, you only have so many F's to give, right? So healthy relationships require the ability to say no and to hear it. Manson recounts a personal story. Early in his relationship, his girlfriend really wanted to move in, but he wasn't ready. Saying no was painful, but it preserved honesty. And saying yes to avoid conflict actually would have bred resentment for his girlfriend. Quiet resentment is more painful than simply saying no. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid quick instead of prolonging needless suffering. Rejection is a tool to give yourself clarity. It filters out misalignment. The same applies to goals, jobs, and identities. Quit the job that drains you, end the friendship that exploits you, abandon the dream that no longer fits. Saying no to the wrong things creates space for the right ones. And then you die. Mortality is the ultimate perspective giver. Imagine your funeral. What do you want people to say? He made a lot of money, she was always right, or he was kind, she was brave, and they were good people. Death reminds us that legacy is not an achievement, it's an impact on others. There was once a Japanese soldier named Hiru Onada. He hid in the Philippine jungle for 29 years after World War II ended. He believed it was a trick by the enemies and that the war couldn't be over. After years of living on bugs and terrorizing villages, he eventually found out that the war really was over when his commanding officer informed him so in person. It turned out the war really did end, and when he finally returned, he was hailed as a hero. But for what? Loyalty to a dead cause? Confronting death sharpens your priorities. What relationships matter? What work fulfills you? And what values define you? Use this as often as you need to gain clarity in your own life. These are the F's that are important. The subtle art of not giving an F is not about apathy. It's about clarity. In a world that screams more, save more, see more, do more, the subtle art suggests I don't need more F's to give. Enough is enough, and I can be happy with enough. It's okay to fail, it's okay to be ordinary, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to suffer if it's for something that matters to you. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to feel good all the time. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need to choose and start. Choose your values, choose your problems, choose your pain, and give an F about what only truly matters. We live and then we die, and let that life which we've been given be enough.